and welcome back as we continue our journey through the book of Acts. We're still in chapter 14. And just a little bit of context is that Paul and Barnabas flee where they're at because of the persecution that is coming their way. And they are still preaching the gospel. Today we're going to see an encounter where God would set them up, and it's very unique in a way. You'll see what I'm talking about. We're going to read a portion of scripture, pull out a timeless truth. Today we're going to be in verses 8 through 18. Let's dive in. Now at Lystra, there was a man sitting who could not use his feet. He was crippled from birth and had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking, and Paul, looking intently at him and seeing that he had faith to be made well, said in a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And he sprang up and began walking. And when the crowd saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in Lycaonian, "The gods have come down to us in the likeness of men." Barnabas they called Zeus, and Paul Hermes, because he was a chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance of the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates and wanted to offer sacrifice with the crowds. But when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, they tore their garments and rushed out into the crowd, crying out, "Men, why are you doing these things? We also are men of like nature with you. And we bring you good news that you should turn from these vain things to a living God, who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. In past generations he allowed all the nations to walk in their own ways, yet he did not leave himself without witness. For he did good by giving you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, satisfying your hearts with food and gladness." Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the people from offering sacrifice to them. In Acts 14, Paul heals a man who had never walked, not a moment in his life. And this incident right here strongly echoes the healing as we've seen in Acts chapter 3, when Peter healed a lame man since birth. Both men lived with the same lifelong struggle and were told to stand. And both were instantly healed, yet their stories also show clear differences. One was a Jew, the other a Gentile. One responded in Acts chapter 3 by leaping and praising God, while the other quietly began to walk. These differences highlight a powerful truth. Pain may look different from person to person, but is something that we all experience. Though the details may vary, the human need for healing is shared, and the source of that healing remains the same in every story, and that's Jesus. This story serves as a powerful reminder that the pain, challenges, and hardships God has brought you through are, yes, they're unique to you. Yet, they are not without connection to others. There may be people around you quietly struggling with something similar, longing for hope. And as God continues to bring healing into your life, He also invites you to walk with others to share your journey. You may have not faced exactly what someone else is facing, but your testimony of God's faithfulness can offer encouragement, strength, and light to someone walking through their own valley. And so, church, I just want to encourage you today is that maybe you have gone through a horrible season. Maybe you have gone through a horrible challenge in your life that you still feel as if you are walking with a limp. And you have cried your tears, you have prayed your prayers, and God has met you. And I want to let you know that those tears that you shed were not wasted. And those prayers that you prayed were not falling on deaf ears. But they entered into the Holy of Holies, into the presence of this amazing God who heard you and who cared for you and who has stepped down to minister to you, who brought people into your life to encourage you, who helped you out and lift you up out of that valley of the shadow of death, whatever your testimony may be like. And I would encourage you that you too would be bold, be courageous in some ways, to go and share your story with someone else who may be going through something similar like you. Maybe they may be suffering in silence. Maybe they don't want to bring attention to themselves. But as you share your testimony and as you share of God's faithfulness, making him the star of your story, think of it, church, the lives you will impact for his glory. Be faithful. Share. God bless.